Okay? So I've done Good Mythical Morning, I've done Salmonella, and I was going to do AVGN, but I realized how really unbingeable that show is. So what can I do now? OverSimplified? I guess I will. For the people who don't know, OverSimplified is a YouTube channel creator that does historical, documentary videos with a comedic twist. Mainly like Salmonella if there was a budget. I discovered OverSimplified like 2.5 years ago, I'd say, and I've liked his content ever since. I think I've watched all of them. So I got into thinking around a month ago about what is the best OverSimplified video, which one's the worst. If you search up people ranking every OverSimplified video, they'll say they're all the best, or there's like 4 that are equally tied for being the worst, or there's 10 tied for equally being the best. There's a similar problem with Salmonella, but of course I changed that. So I want to change that here today too, by ranking, in my opinion, what are the best and worst OverSimplified videos. Let me get into the rules real quick. I'm not going to be ranking the two-parters differently. So, like, for example, the first video we're going to get to is World War I. I'm not going to rank World War I Part 1 and World War I Part 2 differently, because they're both talking about the same thing, so I'm just going to put them together. So, on his actual channel, there is technically 29 videos, but separating all the two-parters together and all the singulars together, you have a total of 19 videos. So, I'm counting 19 videos. That's all the rules. Also, I'm not sorting these by anything, by like season or year. So, if you want to click to a certain one, I'll put them in a timestamp. The reason why I did that was because these are more like movies and not episodes, because like the average OverSimplified video lasts around 40 minutes now. So yeah, with that said, let's begin. Well, we start with the first episode in the entire series, because that would make sense. With World War I gotta say, for OverSimplified to make his first video, not knowing if it's going to succeed or not, he really hit it out of the park. Like, this one's great. The only reason why I think this one might be worse than like later ones is because the humor isn't at top notch yet, and the mic quality is a little bit bad, and the animation looks a little bit weirder. But besides that, this is on par with everything else he makes. Also, I think the other reason why I like this one so much is because I'm really into World War I history. Because for some reason, one of the biggest wars in human history, and probably the most gruesome one of all. Yes, I know it's the war that killed the most people, but I'd rather fight World War II than World War I, just because of how inhumane World War I was, really. I just find it interesting how weird stuff was then, about how it basically changed the entirety of history since World War I happened. So I just find that stuff interesting. So that's probably why I like this one so much. Also, it's very funny.
Let's play Spot the French Soldier. Did you see him? Easy, right?
Well, this whole thing can't be complete sunshine and rainbows. Like I said earlier, I do have a few complaints with it, like the mic quality sounding like not good, really. I mean, I know what he's saying, but it ain't like crisp like we are going to get to. And also, for some reason, this has like stick people in it instead of like the normal OverSimplified figure that we know and love. The other two ones I'm going to get to have it too. I guess this is what he was originally going to go for background characters. I don't know. Anyway, this one's pretty solid. Like a 7 out of 10. Oh, an amazing video. I just really like this one so much. I've always had a soft spot for OverSimplified videos that don't really have anything to do with war or battles, like the Falklands video or Prohibition, or of course this one. Like this one could tell me the entirety about Adolf Hitler. I'm going to try and walk around this. I don't think I can say so much on YouTube without getting demonetized about this certain fellow. He talks about this guy's life in such vast detail, making it so educational. Talks about his entire life and how awful he is in like 20 minutes. Or not even that long, around 15. He does that better than a hour and a half movie that has a way bigger budget than him. That just shows the quality of these videos, in my opinion. It's funnier. It's a lot funnier than the World War I video. The mic quality is fixed. All I gotta say, it's a pretty good video. The only thing is, I'm not really interested in some other parts. Like, I really don't need to... Like, it helps me understand that what he had to face as a child probably had something to do with everyone's favorite Austrian painter's political beliefs. But, I mean, some of the stuff just really ain't interesting to me, like his school life and stuff. Yeah, it's a good, like, fact to bring up at parties that, like, the worst person ever to live was a painter. But, not really gonna... Nothing I'll ever use in my history class, so let's just say that. So that's just a minor nitpick, and I know that. So with that said, it's going to the top of the list so far. Wonder if anything else can top it. Well, the good streak was going to fall at some point. I don't really care for the Falklands one. It ain't bad, but it's just decent, really. None of the jokes got me to crack up at all. The only thing that I found remotely funny in this entire video was the absurdity of Britain sending all of its troops down to some random island near Antarctica to fight it so they have more land area. That's the only thing I found remotely funny, is how desperate the British people are. That's the only thing I found funny. But it is kind of interesting, though, so I gotta give it credit to that. So, in summary, it ain't terrible, but it's the worst one so far. I hate even to call it worse, because it ain't bad. It's just not as funny as the others.
And there were no winners, except for this guy.
After a while of thinking, and that small blunder that was the last one, I gotta say this is probably my favorite one yet. I just like the absurdity of someone going to war over a dumb little football game. It's also funny, just besides that, besides like the whole banana thing dancing at the end of it that just comes out of nowhere. Like, I know he uses that same banana thing in later videos, but this just came out of nowhere in it, like nothing. I mean, I know it has historical context. Check the Banana Republic's video by Sam Wanella to learn more. But it just came out of nowhere, and I find that funny. So yeah, the football war is a pretty good video. It is my favorite so far. It's going to the top of the list. Okay, by the way, before we get into this review, I think I just discovered like the funniest thing ever. So actual teachers use OverSimplified videos. I didn't know that. Like, you can go on teachers' websites and buy like 20-page worksheet prints for like to answer while watching an oversimplified video. Like, I'll show a picture of it on screen right now. Okay, now talking about the actual video. This is probably one of the best videos on YouTube. One of the best oversimplified videos. There's still one more that I think is better than this. I like this one a lot. I feel like I just learned the entire history of World War II, which I know in some schools takes like months to learn. In like 30 minutes, I learned every key moment and had a good laugh. I mean, I think that's a good deal. Also, let me just compliment the humor in this one. Like it doesn't just take the whole thing to a standstill just to say one joke, to set it up out of the punchline in a minute. It goes along with it. So it never feels like you're waiting for it to continue. I like that. I really like that. It's kind of bright, to be honest. And speaking more about the humor, there's actually a lot of inside jokes on here as well. Like, for some reason, OverSimplified never said that the angry, silly mustache fella, I don't think I can say what he did in 1945 when the Russians took over, but search it up if you don't know. I think it's common knowledge, but if you just don't know, search it up. He never says that. Instead, he says that he shot himself in the foot every time he messed up. I think that's a really clever inside joke for the people who know. So yeah, in summary, the World War II oversimplified videos is just one of the best videos in all of video making history. It's going at the top of the list. It's solid. I think it's nice to do a little mini review after every 5 videos we get through. And for this one, I'm just going to do it for the first 5. I gotta say, this one's kind of a mixed bag. It has some of my favorites of the entire series, like the first 3 with, Hitler, Football War, and World War II. But it has some ones I don't really care for, like the Falkland Islands. I know I didn't talk about the World War one in that ranking, and that's because it sounded real good when I started it, but as we go later in the list, we see that it gets kind of more mid and less, it's still a good video, but it's just not as good compared to everything else, as you can already see right now. Anyway, let's keep this train rolling. To be serious, besides the first, dude, uncool moment, I don't really get that much out of this one. It's just a fine little video talking about the Battle of Hastings, which, fun fact, took place in a town in England called Battle. So it should be called the Battle of Battle. Like I said, this one really doesn't do that much for me. I guess it's alright. It's going right over the Falklands. Strangely enough, is me being American and my parents being American, my family's been in America since 1800, I really found out that I don't know that much about the Revolutionary War, or the American Revolution as it's called in this one. I guess my 5th grade social studies teacher, who left a mark on me, too much to go in for this video, I might talk about it in another video, told us as much as she could, but I didn't know a lot of stuff about the Revolutionary War, and this video taught me it. All I knew was, the Stamp Act and Sugar Act and stuff like that. But I didn't know about John Paul Jones. I didn't know that the war didn't end in 1776. I thought it ended then, but it lasted 1783, I believe. I didn't know it went down south. I thought it stayed above the Mason-Dixon line. I learned quite a bit in this one. And it's all thanks to OverSimplified. Also with that, this one's very funny. I like the point where Benjamin Franklin's trying to get some women down in France.
We're hoping for a bigger commitment from the French, so John Adams went to France to help Benjamin Franklin continue negotiations. Oh good, you're finally here. Check this out. Hey ladies, I'd like to fly you like a kite, because you're electrifying. Isn't this great? Is this what you've been doing?
See, it really shows how much OverSimplified's changed just in the first 7 videos. He went from being kind of funny and pretty good animation to quite solid. This one is, again, quite solid. It's going right below World War II. I, and many other people, find it quite shocking how much I like the Emu War episode. From what I recall, I think it was my first OverSimplified video I watched. I remember a good friend of mine telling me about this video about a summary of the Emu War, and set up to a joke very similar to the Learn Your Vowels Jerry joke. I remember him saying something similar to that, searching it up, watching it, enjoyed it. So I guess besides that, it really holds a very sentimental mark to me, I guess. But besides that, it's very, very funny. Even though I might not find it to be the most interesting thing that OverSimplified covered, but it's very close. I think it's just funny. It's just funny. So just for that, it's going right below World War II, right above the Revolutionary War. It's pretty good. Wonderful, in fact.
Okay, looks like my car's broken down. Want to give me a tow? No problem, friend. I got you.
I am up in the world.
From what I recall from watching the Cold War video 3 years ago, I recall that I really, really hated it and didn't want to see it again. So I was not looking forward to watching it. But you know what? Looking back, I think this is one of the better ones so far. It's really interesting, which I am interested in Cold War history. And when I saw it 3 years ago, I thought it was an awful portrayal of that. But you know what? I think it's a good portrayal of that. It tells you everything you need to know, and it's just funny. It's probably the funniest one we've had so far. There's a lot of jokes I could put in here to show how funny it is, but I'll just put in one random one that is spun on a wheel.
Today, the president walks among priceless treasures from China's golden age. Among them, a pair of ear stoppers used by the emperor to keep from hearing criticism.
Put the stopper into his ears so that he couldn't hear the criticism.
Give me a pair of them.
他顺便给我一对啊。
Some other good jokes are in this video, like I said. In fact, even if you're not interested in Cold War history, I recommend that you check this one out. It's quite funny. But if I do have one complaint, I just believe it has some structuring issues. Like, it's so complicated at what he talks about. Like, this could easily just be a 30-minute video and not a 40-minute, because some things just aren't really needed to be talked about. Like, that don't really have any importance. But I'm aware that's a minor nitpick. So besides that, this one's pretty good. It's going to write about the Revolutionary War. Man, I hate Three Kingdoms. All my homies hate Three Kingdoms. I really don't like this one. It is the worst oversimplified video. If you ask anyone what is the worst oversimplified video, we'll say, yeah, they're all good. But no, some of them are bad, and this is a good example of that. This is a very awful one. It isn't funny. Well, let's just start with that. I have 30 complaints to go over. One, it isn't funny. Like, nothing was funny to me at all about this main thing. The only part that's worth watching that you might get just a little bit of humor out of is the sponsor at the end, which I'll get to the sponsor in a minute because that has a whole other part in how bad it is. But just none of it's funny. Two, I don't find it that interesting. He just basically explained the entirety of ancient Chinese history, or like half of it, or like half of all of China's history in 20 minutes. So some things just seem out of place and out of nowhere, so I am not able to comprehend it. Like, I am willing to admit that I probably don't have the best attention span out there, which makes oversimplified videos great because they're easy to pick up and watch, and I feel like I can understand things. Like, say, for example, the World War II video. I already knew a thing or two about it, but watching, I feel like I'm learning more and knew everything about it. With this, I don't know nothing. I'm just, like, confused. And the final thing, this whole thing was just a cash grab. Like, I haven't brought this up before, but almost every oversimplified video has a sponsor. These normally aren't a big deal. They're thrown into the video quite nicely, and they don't really take that much time away from it. He even has done some videos revolving around the sponsors, like the Battle of Hastings one. But you see, the Battle of Hastings one was about Vikings, you know? And the game that he was sponsored by was about Vikings. This one is about the Three Kingdoms and the battling in China, and the game that he sponsors is about the battling in China. But here's the thing that the game's based on probably didn't even happen, so what's the point? This whole thing was just set up and being confusing as possible to get an extra buck. This is one of the worst videos, probably the worst oversimplified video. It's go to the bottom of the list. I don't like it at all. Thankfully, this segment was better than the last. It had two not really good ones, Three Kingdoms and Battle of Hastings, but the top three are back to back to back on the list. Like, you know, the top, like, they're dominating the top five right now. The only one video that can beat the top three in this segment is World War II. But I wonder if anything's going to beat that soon. It's shocking how little most people know about the French Revolution. And the large amount of people I just talked about includes me. So I enjoyed this video. I learned quite a bit. The only thing I knew about, like, the French Revolution going into this was the guillotine, so I learned quite a lot. I should say that. I learned quite a bit. It's also pretty funny. It's on par with some of the best. I'm putting it right below World War II.
First, gentlemen, I am innocent of everything of which I am accused. Wait, you're too loud. They can't hear me. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. Wait, dude. Uncool.
Man, these videos just keep getting better and better. Like, you know, we started at the beginning of this one with the French Revolution, which was already a pretty solid one. Then before we had the Cold War, and then before we had the Emu War. All these ones just keep topping themselves. And once again, this one topped itself. But this time, I don't think it could get much better than this. It is hilarious and quite informational. None of this stuff was really ever really historic. But I learned a lot about how Charlemagne being crowned by the Pope really affected society in small ways. And this is a small way in which it was affected. I like that. It's also very, very funny. I like how the people who own the bucket, which is where the War of the Bucket came from, literally treat the bucket as like a sacred artifact, like doing dances around it and stuff. It's also just hilarious. I like it. It really captures the oversimplified humor. It's where you really started to master it. So yeah, War of the Bucket is the most epic thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It is going right below World War II.
The whole conflict escalated when Henry IV went to the Pope and said, "Hey, guess what, sucker? You're deposed." Oh. Wait a minute. I'm the Pope. You can't depose me. You're deposed. Oh. Wait a minute. I'm the Emperor. You can't depose me. You're deposed. Oh. Wait a minute.
This one is not terrible. There's much more worse than this so far, which haven't been bad yet. And this one ain't bad either. It's actually great, but it ain't as good as the last couple, so it looks kind of tarnished in like context of the last few. But just in general, this one's pretty good. Find it quite interesting. You know, I live where the Union Confederate line used to be, so you know I can actually compare and contrast of my life to this. You know. And also, this one's just funnier. It's pretty funny. I like, my favorite joke out of the entire thing is like the family that always gets caught in war, like gets caught in it 3 times. It's funny. This one's alright. It's middle of the list material, I guess. So what originally got me to make this video was, I remember like months ago watching the Drew Journal video of him ranking every oversimplified video and like putting them on a tier list. And he said they liked this one quite a bit, which I didn't understand. I mean, I saw it before and I just thought it was alright, you know, pretty good, but nothing like the best of all time. But you know what, rewatching it like 2 years later, I think it is one of the best. In fact, it's going right above the War of the Bucket. It's solid. I've never really been interested in like British history. When it comes to that, I'm more interested in like the last 100 years. But you know, I've always had like a fascination with Henry VIII. So you know what? I like this one. It's also very funny.
So, can I have the French throne like we agreed? No. What? And also, I don't want to marry your ugly daughter anymore. Ugly? Have you seen your chin? Mummy says it's a strong chin for a strong boy. And all night long, and then he had his whole head, not a guy's, and nobody knew how the goat got on the roof.
Besides that, or just the Rasputin bit in general, this one is horrendous. It's one of the worst so far. You know, with Three Kingdoms, it was so mind-bogglingly confusing where it did not oversimplify it at all. And that I think that's more offensive than this. Just being boring and unfunny and really uninteresting. Like, I thought the Russian Revolution would be kind of interesting, but this just bores me. Like, fell asleep for a couple of seconds, around 30 seconds, watching this one. It's just heavily forgettable. Like, with other ones that are pretty good, I can't really talk that much about just because they're good. I can't really go on with, like, the former one. This one's the opposite. It's so bad where I just don't have that much to say about it, except that it's bad. It's going right by the Falklands. Besides the Russian Revolution video, this segment was pretty good. It's probably the best one so far. The top 4, great. Having some of my favorite videos of all time, like the War of the Bucket and Henry VIII. Now we're entering our last segment. This segment does not have 5, and it only has 4, but I'm still going to show the ranking at the end just to show where everything adds up. Anyway, we'll let the party continue. So you might think it weird that I think one of the mostly considered middle-of-the-road episodes of Oversimplified to be the best. But I love this one. It is my favorite Oversimplified video. It's going to the top of the list. But I guess I need to explain why. I don't know why. I guess I can just relate to it on a level because my county's first city that became wet, like, happened fairly recently, like in the early 80s, I believe. It's like Prohibition was into play for a long time where I'm at. I don't know. Also, I remember when this came out, it was like a big deal for me. Like, I stopped what I was doing and watched the entire 30 minutes of it. And I loved it. And checking back on it again, I respect it even more. I've always been interested in Prohibition history, like how you're going to stop one bad habit for the entire country. It's kind of stupid, and it just shows how stupid it can be. It's also very funny, but I'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about like how well structured this thing is. So besides it being educational, it's also well structured. There ain't really too many key moments in the Prohibition besides, like, I don't know, it's starting the St. Valentine's Day Massacre and it ending. Those are like the 3 big moments. But seeing things just slowly decline is more satisfying and interesting than going point by point by point. So it doesn't really seem like it's lingering on like the problem I had with the Russian Revolution and the Cold War. This one just, you can feel like the Prohibition law getting, like how it failed, like going by time to see how it failed over time, slowly but surely. I like that. And also, it's just funny. A lot of the jokes in this one got me to laugh, like how everyone at a job in the 20s is just like recklessly drunk every day, or like how Al Capone talks himself out of anything, like saying, "Oh, I don't kill my enemies, I just help them retire from life." Stuff like that. This one's hilarious. It's going at the top of the list, like I said earlier.
And so where'd all the money come from, Capone? Alright, I'll let you in on a little secret, but you gotta promise not to tell anyone, okay? I don't pay my taxes.
What? I genuinely don't understand how this is a fan favorite. Like, this one is awful. I've never liked it. There's a couple reasons. I'll get into them in a minute, but the only thing that's worse than this is Three Kingdoms. But even at that, this is worse than it in some ways. First off, it just isn't funny. I know Oversimplified Video's main point is not to be funny, it's to teach. But if you're going to add a comedy into it, at least be funny. This comedy is, like, painful. It ain't even like, okay, I can exist with it, humor. This is awful. It's horribly cheesy, and I can have, like, I have a large, like, I guess, 10 strength to, like, cheesy humor, but this just makes me mad, like, how cheap and unfunny this video is. Secondly, it's boring. How do you make Napoleon Bonaparte's life boring? I don't know how you do that, but Oversimplified somehow finds a way. And lastly, the characters just look awful. Like, the animation is horrendous in this one. You know, even though we started out at the beginning, Oversimplified still had pretty solid animation for their time. Now, look at, like, for example, let's look at a character from Prohibition. Here, it's Wayne Wheeler. Looks normal. Like, looks friendly and all that. Now, this is what the leader of Austria-Hungary looks like in the Napoleonic Wars series. Awful, right? Looks awful. Yeah, I know. Either this was just incredibly rushed, or Oversimplified really did not care. I don't know either. Don't even waste your time with this one. It's awful. It's going near the bottom. Just like the last one, there is nothing to celebrate here. It is, like I said in the last one, painfully unfunny and uninteresting. I think I could just sum up perfectly with what the most liked comment says. It took him less time to review World War II, but yet it took him more time to talk about a freaking pig war. that's pandering for time. That isn't funny. It's pandering for time. I find it kind of ignorant, to be honest. The only redeeming quality of this one is the speech at the end where OverSimplified literally declares war on Canada. That's kind of base, if I'm being honest with ourselves. So yeah, the Pig War's awful. It's going right above Three Kingdoms.
Think about it. Why not? We have the manpower. We have the arms. It's our manifest destiny. Picture a future where American Mounties wear red, white, and blue and hail the stars and stripes, where Wayne Gretzky would wave the American flag every 4th of July in the streets of Montreal. Maple syrup, the greatest American food. Banff, the greatest American national park. One united nation under the leadership of our glorious president, Drake. No longer shall we tolerate our smug neighbors to the north with their affordable insulin and endless comments complaining that I don't talk about Canada enough in my videos. That's right, Canadians. Watch your backs. Sleep with one eye open tonight, because Biden's coming, baby. And this time, he's coming with a vengeance!
Okay, it's like 11 o'clock at night. I just want to get this video done with. So yeah, after watching the Punic War video, I gotta say, it's good. It's a major improvement over the last two, and that's true. I gotta say, it has a few good jokes and it's pretty interesting. In fact, I had no clue what the Punic War even was when I started this, but now I know pretty much all about it and how smart the Romans were. All I gotta say, it's pretty good. It's going right below the Civil War. There, I'm done. Finally done. I'll talk about how big of a pain this is later, but let's just get to the ranking, the part that everyone's been waiting for. Okay, starting at the bottom of the list, we have the Napoleonic Wars, then Three Kingdoms, the Pig War, Falkland Islands, Russian Revolution, Battle of Hastings, World War I, Hitler, Football War, Punic War, Civil War, Revolutionary War, Cold War, Emu War, French Revolution, War of the Bucket, Henry VIII, World War II, Prohibition. This was a lot harder than Salmonella. With Salmonella, there's only like 5 bad episodes, and all of them take like 5 minutes to complete, so the pain doesn't really get to you because they happen so seldom. But with OverSimplified, there's like 5 bad episodes, and all those bad episodes have like a total of 1 hour of runtime, so that pain is extended and it's worse. So I guess this one was harder than Salmonella, but it's a far cry in pain from the Good Mythical Morning one. You had to sit in months of agony with this one. With this one, it was just a couple of hours. So yeah, OverSimplified, not a terrible channel. Hopefully they can pick it back up their pace soon.
Hot? Whoa, I'ma need a minute.